Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. This one I'm going to be looking at Switch games that I think should be getting a Switch 2 update. There are going to be two parts to this video. So the first part is going to be first party Nintendo published games, and then I'm going to have third party publishers as well in a separate video. So without further ado, let's get to this pile of games. So the way I'm going to do this is just flick through them all individually. So I just had that case to hide the first one there. And the first one is going to continue on a trend that will go throughout this video, because we have Xenoblade 3, Xenoblade 2, that's Torna, the DLC. We have Xenoblade 2, we have Xenoblade Chronicles X, and we have Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. So there are a lot of titles here, obviously, in the Xenoblade series, and I think all of them could do with a Switch 2 update and a Switch 2 edition for the games. These are a great series of games. They're big, sprawling, massive RPG games. Because they're so ambitious, though, I feel like they really have been kind of let down by the performance of the Switch. Now, I bought Xenoblade Chronicles X here, I don't know if you can see, but it is still sealed. And the reason I've held off opening that and actually playing it is because something is telling me there will be a Switch 2 version of this game that will come along. I know there's been a couple of data miners that have come out and looked at this and seen that there was a 60 frames per second mode in the game. Now, I'm not sure whether that's going to happen, what it was there for, but if this gets a Switch 2 update, if all of these get a Switch 2 update and make them 60 frames per second and run at a better resolution, I think it's going to be fantastic for fans of the series. So we'll pop the Xenoblade games out of the road and we'll go on to our next one. And I think this is a surefire to get a Switch 2 version. And I actually think this could potentially be one of the bigger Nintendo Switch games coming this holiday season, is a Switch 2 version of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Now, why do I think it could get an update? Well, this is a Mario game that hasn't had any DLC, first of all, and I do think Mario Wonder deserves to have some DLC with the Wonder mechanic. It's so insane, there's so many different things that they've done in this title, but I think there are many more things on the table that they can pull off in this game, and I do think it would be deserving of some DLC to see what else they can pull from this, as well as any kind of visual or frame rate enhancement that it could potentially get is obviously going to be great as well, but I do think this one would deserve the kind of $20 kind of update that we're seeing for certain games, because I think it actually needs some new content there as well, and it could work really well. The reason why I think this could be coming at Christmas time, we're hitting the Mario 40th anniversary, I believe. Now, Nintendo has always tended to have done things for Mario's anniversary. This should be no different. 40 is a pretty big round number anniversary, so I would like to think they'd have something for Mario out there. If they don't have a full 3D Mario ready to go, they might have it ready at some point this year during the anniversary year. Could be the big game next Christmas. So to fill that gap, they could have a Switch 2 version of this game. Maybe have a bundle coming out in around Christmas with the Switch 2 and Mario Wonder with its update. I'm just spitballing and throwing things out there. I'm not entirely sure what they will do with this in terms of the release cadence, but I do think at some point during the Switch 2's lifespan, we will get Super Mario Bros. Wonder Switch 2 version with some additional kind of DLC levels on there, much like we're seeing with Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Next up, we have another Mario title, and this is Super Mario Maker 2. Now, why do I think this is going to get Switch 2 support? Well, it's simple. We have Game Builder Garage has got a free update. I showed it off in my last video where I had this case full of Switch games that were getting Switch 2 updates. And you'll see Game Builder Garage was one of them there. You can click up here somewhere to view that video. I'll put a little link in there. But that's getting an update, and it puts mouse controls in there. And while I thought that's going to be really great for creating stuff in Game Builder Garage, I thought, well, what other experience did Nintendo have that's about creation? And this one obviously came immediately to mind. The reason I thought Super Mario Maker 2 didn't particularly work on Switch compared to Wii U was because Wii U had that tablet, and it just seemed to be a bit more accurate with the stylus, and you were obviously able to edit on it, then look on the TV screen. So this was a bit different, but I can see this working a lot better with mouse controls, and it hopefully is something they will update with the Switch 2 version. Now, it may not be a paid version, it may be one of the free Switch 2 updates, but I do think, and I would like to see Super Mario Maker 2 getting some type of update. The only way I don't think we get an update for this at some point is if they're actually working on a Super Mario Maker 3, and that may tie into this 40th anniversary celebration that I was just talking about, but I'd certainly love to see an update to Super Mario Maker 2. Next up, a game that wasn't super popular, I don't find. Not a lot of people were talking about this one, but it did sell a decent number of units, and I think this could be really good for kind of family play and showing off the family aspect of Switch 2, and that is Nintendo Switch Sports. So I bought this game when it first came out. It has since had several updates. It's added a couple of extra sports and stuff in there. I believe the actual physical version has even had an update, and you'll see the symbol now for, I think it's basketball, and something else they've added on there is on the physical. But I haven't really gone back to this since it first came out. And the reason I think this could get a Switch 2 update is simply, as I said, it could bring families in, it'll bring a kind of attention to multiplayer, which is where Nintendo tends to focus quite hard. And if you remember back to Switch 1 coming out, we had Splatoon 2, we had ARMS, we had Mario Kart 8, all come out in the first kind of 6 months to year of the Switch. So they wanted to get some of those big multiplayer titles that could last the generation out there. Now, while I don't think this would be the most popular kind of game out there that they could do that with, they have a chance on their hand to add a couple more sports in, resell this package, update the graphics and a couple of other things, the frame rate, etc. on Switch 2, add some HDR in here, and resell this package. And I think it would work really well, and it could definitely get me back to this title. Now, this next one, I have a friend that really wants this to get a Switch 2 update, and that is Bayonetta 3. Now, I could probably pull Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3 here, but in terms of games that Nintendo have published, I think Bayonetta 3 is ripe for getting a Switch 2 version. While the series of Bayonetta is great, I don't think this one ran particularly well, so getting a Switch 2 version of this obviously is going to be great. I would love it if it was just a free version. I can't think of stuff that they would be able to add in to this game to kind of charge for it. I'm sure they could come up with something, but I'd love this to even get a free update just to increase the frame rate, to increase that resolution, so it stands more in line with the other two games in the series. But I'd like to get an update to all three. Maybe we could even push the first game a little bit further, and so on as we go through the series up to number 3. But if we could get this running at a locked 60 at a higher resolution, that would be great for the type of action-packed gameplay that's in Bayonetta 3. I think the limitations of the Switch held it back, so it would be nice to see it be completely and fully unleashed on Switch 2. And then we have Astral Chain, and I spoke on this in another video. This is probably the #1 game I would like to actually get a Switch 2 update, but I think it's maybe the least likely to happen. So I'd love fans to get behind this and rally behind this game and hopefully try and get a Switch 2 version. Anyone that's played Astral Chain will know it's kind of somewhat of a hidden gem. I mean, it performed reasonably well on Switch in terms of sales numbers and things like that, but it wasn't a smash success like we've seen other series have. And I think it's a really unique game. It's really stylish. Obviously that action kind of combat there from Platinum Games. That's the reason though that I don't think we will get it. That little symbol there with Platinum, they seem to be all over the place at the minute, and I just can't see them working with Nintendo and being able to get this sorted in terms of the game getting a Switch 2 version, but it would be really nice. And this is one of those titles that I do hope, I'm not sure on the technical side of things, but I hope there's maybe a chance that when you put this in the Switch 2 system, if they maybe had unlocked frame rates or something in there, that just the extra power boost that the Switch 2 is going to give could at least make this run a little bit more smoothly. But I'm not sure that that is going to be the case, unfortunately. So I think it would need an update for that. Again, if it was just one of the free updates, I would be absolutely fine if it just fixed some performance issues. But if we could get anything extra for Astral Chain, fingers crossed we can get a sequel someday down the line and a continuation of this series. If you haven't checked this one out on Nintendo Switch, I would definitely urge you to do so. But that's it for the Nintendo published games here that I would like to see get Switch 2 upgrades. There may be some other games that I've left off, so certainly let me know in the comments what Switch games from Nintendo publishing that you would like to see getting a Switch 2 version and what kind of improvements you would like them to make. And definitely stay tuned for the next video in this series where I look at some third-party games and publishers and hopefully see which ones of those can get Switch 2 upgrades. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.